Hello everybody, my name's Nicola and welcome back to my channel. I blog over at thefrugalcottage.com all about budgeting, money saving, investing and lots of different things in between, and thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let's get started. So today's video is all about sinking funds, what they are, why you need them, how to factor them into your budget, and then I will show you the 4 that I have at the moment. So what are sinking funds? So sinking funds are essentially kind of short-term saving pots, if you like, to do with things that might crop up. And there are lots of different categories to do this, but it's so that when things do kind of happen and you need the money for, you have that little pot of money already there kind of waiting for you, and it's there to help you stay out of debt. Instead of using a credit card to pay for an expense, you've already got the money saved. Dave Ramsey is a big advocate of sinking funds, but they can work really well with your everyday budget. So it's essentially another kind of savings that you put aside each month for different things. So for example, if you have a car, you might have a car fund like sinking pot, and that could be things for like the MOT or the car tax, or if something goes wrong and you need something replacing. That could be an example of a sinking fund. And actually, if you do have a car, it is a really good idea to start putting money aside for kind of repairs and things like that for a car, because you know, if they happen, they're usually fairly expensive. But it can be also other things. It can be things like if you're going on holiday, then you might want to save for spending money for that holiday, or you might want to save to kind of be able to do things whilst on holiday. You might have like a pet sinking fund, so in case they need like emergency vet, like if they need to go to the vets for an emergency, so they might need some, I don't know, some treatment or surgery or whatever, you again have some money set aside. Now you might have pet insurance which might cover some of that, but you also have to kind of add some money to that. So again, another idea for that is a sinking fund, so that you've got money there to use when you need it and you're not kind of scrabbling around trying to find it, or again using a credit card. It can be other things, like you might want to save for a new car, or a new to you car anyway, and you might put in some money each month for that. Depends how much you've got spare, I suppose. Or you might want to, another obvious one here is birthdays. So obviously most of us have birthdays that we need to buy presents for during the year. It can be really handy to start a birthday sinking fund, so then when it comes to somebody else's birthday, again, you've already got that money saved, so it's not an unexpected expense in your budget. Another one on the same theme there is Christmas. So a lot of people I know have like a Christmas savings pot, so they save during the year, because we all know when Christmas is, and we all know that we've got, you know, it's at the end of the year, so you've got the whole year to save for that first, and then you've got some money to kind of buy presents or food or whatever else you need to buy kind of in the holiday season. And the main reason behind sinking funds really is so that you A, have some money already set aside for whatever the expense is, but B, it then isn't an unexpected expense in the sense that you don't have the money to pay for it. Especially if we talk about the pet one. Imagine something happened to a pet and you need to take it to the vet and have emergency surgery. That can be really expensive, and again quite unexpected, because obviously you don't want to have your pet be injured or whatever, but you need to pay for that there and then. If you have a pet sinking fund set up, then you know you have some money to use towards that, and therefore hopefully you won't need to put any, or not as much at least, on a credit card to pay for that at the time, because that's when the snowball starts, and it's really easy to kind of get into debt and be able to kind of not see a way out of that. And things like Christmas, like I said, we all know that Christmas, for example, you know, it's in December, we know it's December 25th, you know you're going to have to buy things for that. So having a sinking fund for Christmas and saving over the year, so that in December, or depending on how organised you are when you do your Christmas shopping, you've got that money there, so you're not using kind of your everyday normal budget in that circumstance instead. And talking of budget, so when you write your budget, and I'm someone who uses the zero-based budget method, and I've got a video coming up about that fairly soon. it kind of comes in the same, so you have your fixed expenses, you then have your variable expenses. Those are things that you know, like food, petrol, those ones are the ones that I talk about often. You then obviously, if you have them, you have your debt repayment kind of amounts each month. And then you need to have a sinking fund bit in your budget as well. Now obviously this does depend on what your budget already looks like. You may or may not have lots of money spare or just a little bit, it doesn't matter. The point of this is to build these up over time. So if you've got, say, £100 left at the end of the month, or left in your budget, so to speak, then you need to decide on what your sinking fund categories are, and they do need to be specific to you. There's no point in having a pets one if you don't have any pets, for example. But you need to decide which ones are most useful. The recommendation is to have 6. I currently only have 4, but I probably will add another couple as I get used to this, because this again is a fairly new thing, but it is really good. But the recommendation is to have 6, but you need to decide what those 6 are, and then you need to split whatever money you have spare into these sinking funds in the month. So you treat it almost the same as if you use the cash envelope method, which you know I do. You do those budget, your planned budget, and then in the same kind of bit you do your sinking funds and add to those. Now I do have a tracker in my budget planner. I'll leave a link down below for that, if you want, and you should track what you've got in there. But that's how you add them to your budget. So if you're under budget, say in your food category you've got £20 left over at the end of the month, then you can add that to your sinking fund as well, so whichever one you feel you need to add to. So say you've got one for a holiday and your holiday is in July and then the Christmas one is in December, obviously you're going to need to fill the one that's in July first because it happens first. So leave the Christmas one for now, and if you have spares, add it to the ones that you know that you will spend sooner rather than later, if that makes sense. Because once you've spent the one in July and you don't need it anymore, then you can focus on the ones that are later on in the year, for example, for that. And using the system and using that to plan ahead, because again it's about organisation and about planning, then you can really kind of keep your budget on a level playing field. You're not kind of dipping in all the time for different things that kind of crop out, because you've already thought about them. You've already thought that may or may not happen at some point, and you've kind of planned for them. A good maybe challenge, if you like, is to maybe sell some things you've got at home on either Facebook or eBay or wherever, and use those funds from those sales to start off your sinking funds. That might be a good idea. I've done that a couple of times. I've sold something on Facebook and they've come and paid cash in person, and I've added different amounts to different sinking funds, which has helped them along, and it hasn't obviously come out of the everyday budget, so to speak. But yeah, I'm now going to show you mine. Like I said before, I've only got 4 at the moment. I think there probably should be another couple. I definitely, for example, should have a car one, I think, and I don't. There is another one I think I maybe should start. But I will show you mine. So at the moment I keep my sinking funds in the same binder as I keep my cash envelopes, and that is because I'm using this essentially the same system to use the cash envelopes in the same way for my sinking funds for now. I can't decide whether to open kind of online saving pots. You can use, there's various different banks that kind of let you split them into different groups of things, but for now I'm using my trusty binder, and again I will link this below. This is the same as I always use. So there's my cash envelopes. However, let's get mine. So I've said I have 4 sinking funds, and I do at the moment, and these are fairly new. This is a fairly new system for me. So as you'll see in a second, these don't have much in there, but hopefully that will change. So I've got Christmas. So I talked about Christmas. We're a family who celebrate Christmas, and obviously we know when that is, and I want to be able to have this kind of funded before it gets to December. That's the point of sinking funds, is that you are funding something that will arise at some point. So the first one I have is Christmas, and if I turn that over, you can see there I've got a £10 note in there, and that is it for the Christmas fund. Now these are new for me, so I haven't kind of got into a great system yet of putting money in these. But Christmas is the first one. Second one, following on again, similar idea I suppose, is that I've got a birthdays one. This hasn't got anything in yet, but birthdays, again, this would be good to have kind of fully funded so that you can kind of dip in and out of this, because obviously birthdays are throughout the year, they're not at a set point. Obviously you know when family member birthdays are and things, but in terms of the number of these, this is obviously more through the year, so that would be good to kind of get full and then dip in and out and add more to when you can. Obviously my aim has not worked yet because there's nothing in there, but birthdays, it would be a good one to use. So I mentioned about selling some things on eBay or Facebook, that would be a good one to kind of fill that up for now. The second one, and I mentioned this in a video ages ago about how unprepared we were about school costs and about how much even just the school uniform would cost. Now our 4-year-old started school in September, and we have 2 children, he's the first one to go to school, and I genuinely had no idea how much these things would cost us. And that was, I mean, it wasn't overly expensive, don't get me wrong, we didn't go, he didn't need really, he doesn't have like a blazer or anything, but you know, I was unprepared for school costs. And there's been a couple of school trips that we've paid for, and kind of just other little expenses that, of course, if you've not got a child in school, then why would you know about those? Because you wouldn't. And again, there's nothing in this as of yet, but the idea behind this is to save, especially save up so that I can buy his uniform with cash, as opposed to kind of not thinking about it, but also those other little things. So the school trip, we've just paid for another one. Although this is tricky because we had to pay for this through like the school gateway system thing, I don't know what it's called. We've just paid for a school trip to a farm that they're going on in a couple of months' time, but we paid for that online. So although I have this, some things will not be able to come out of this, if that makes sense, because they need to be through that gateway. But definitely things like school uniform will come from this. And then the fourth one I've got, and again this is directly linked to last summer, and my August budget. And if you've watched any of my videos, and then you'll know that I went ridiculously over budget in August last year because I was not prepared at all for the school holidays. I thought we'd just do the same thing as normal, that we wouldn't spend any more money. Oh my goodness, how wrong was I? So this has also got £10 in, which I know won't get us very far at the moment. But this is my fourth sinking fund that I have at the moment, and I have a number in mind that I would quite like this to get to before. And when I say the school holidays, it's mainly like the summer holidays, so July, August time. I have a number in mind that I want this to get to by the time it is the school holidays, very much based on last year's kind of disaster, if you like. I'll leave like my August budget thing in the link, I can't talk, in the description box below, because it was a complete disaster. And hopefully this year, if I plan ahead and use it wisely, that will not be the case. So they're the 4 I have at the moment: school holidays, school, birthdays and Christmas. I definitely need a car one. I've just talked about a car one actually, haven't I? And I don't have one myself, but that's a good idea. I feel like maybe we should have a pet one, but at the same time, if they needed anything, that would come out of our emergency fund, which is a different pot. It gets a bit complicated, doesn't it? But there you go. So the idea behind sinking funds, how you use them, how to fit them in your budget, and then I've shared the 4 that I have. I hope you found that helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon.